There was this passion and this curiosity that everybody shared, where even if everyone was doing different things, there was always a common ground at the neutral zone.
Very early on, before the neutral zone even had the name neutral zone, there was an organizational meeting, and a friend asked me to go check and see what was happening. Well, I went and I saw that this wonderful project had an engine, and that was definitely Lisa Dengus and several of her peers, and I thought, this is going to go.
You know, there just wasn't anything that was safe and yet fun for them and something that they would be interested in.
What we had were people who were positive and optimistic and visionary about the potential future of the neutral zone, and I was particularly struck by the wisdom and the success of including teens in a central role from the very beginning, a central leadership role.
We had no experience whatsoever. We didn't know of a location at the time because, you know, we needed money to see where we could go and what we would be able to afford. So, you know, we put a lot of trust out there into the organizations, and I think they put a lot of trust into us.
And that was really the impetus that was finally, okay, we've had enough conversation, we've done enough research, we have to just take the next step and start it and see if it's going to work.
In the early days of the neutral zone, no task was too small or too big for that first board. We rolled up our sleeves, we laid floors, we sought money, we developed programs, we encouraged teens, and everybody got involved in those days. It was very hands-on.
And I remember putting in all of the floor tile by tile, and that just sticks in my memory. I think it was just exciting that we were all in there and working together.
They didn't see the limitations, and it was it led brilliantly to what followed in the later years.
Seeing this space come to fruition after all that we had done and all that we had talked about and all that we had worked on, and you know, it took a couple of years from the first time that we really knew that we had the ability to get a new space to actually make it happen. We had so many people willing to work so hard at any cost, and without those people we would not be you know, in the facility that we're in today.
The idea that Neutral Zone had a stage and teens could put bands together and perform on a stage really struck me as something that would make a huge difference for kids, and I wish that it had been in time for my own kids.
I remember the first night going in, I was playing a concert with a band called the Misters, and I'd never been to the neutral zone before, and I remember just hauling equipment up those old stairs just covered in art and just walking into what seemed like a different universe. I was just surrounded by musicians and poets and artists and all of these cool people that I'd never met. I was like, oh, this is where they all hang out. This is where I'm supposed to be. I played that first show and I just never stopped going.
I remember working the door at the Saturday night concerts, and just what a wonderful time that was to be young in Ann Arbor with the music scene like it was. I think my love for music and hip-hop in particular came from being involved in the music scene at the neutral zone.
The first Breaking Curfew event that I went to was the most meaningful musical event that I had seen in Ann Arbor that year, and as I reflect back on it, it was You know, it may have been the best performance that I've seen in the Power Center because it was so gritty and genuine and authentic and truly creative.
I got involved with the Neutral Zone because of Jeff Cass. He was my creative writing teacher at Pioneer High School my sophomore year, and Jeff just wanted us to have a space outside of Pioneer to be able to keep working on our writing. And over the next several years it evolved into the volume poetry program, so I was really lucky to be there at the beginning.
That was way back in February of 1999, or January of 1999, and we started doing poetry workshops, and at first it'd be like 1 or 2 people, and we'd grab them from like the ping pong table or the pool table and say, hey, you want to write a poem? Come on.
The thing that struck me the most was that as an adult, if someone had come to me and said, it's important for young people to have a place where they can write and perform poetry, I would have said, that's crazy. Kids don't care about poetry. And yet, kids did care about being able to express themselves.
At our Wine, Word, and Song event, a young woman, Tanisha Jones, gave a poem, and she was the last person to speak at this event.
I remember performing the piece about my mom. I lost my mom to domestic violence when I was 12, and I remember performing this piece, and the room got so still.
I had never even heard that her mother had been murdered, and that's what brought her to the Neutral Zone. Everyone in the room was crying.
Like you could hear a pen drop on the floor, and there were hundreds of people at this house, and it was so fancy, and I think no one was expecting it, but that was kind of my moment, and I feel like that's like a memory that I'll forever have.
So I had to get up and I had to talk, and you know, really as a person who didn't really demonstrate a lot of emotion to people, demonstrated emotion.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And now we've built this whole wonderful, vibrant community of young people of influence and consequence through their pens and their vibrant imaginations.
We didn't have an art program when I got involved because we didn't have space. And I became aware of the artists who wanted the same opportunities as the musicians. They wanted a place to do their art, and they wanted to be recognized. They wanted people to appreciate and value them. Art space now has become way, way, way more than I ever dreamed. And I can truly say that there's not one time that I come into this building that I don't see some new incredible thing that just makes me so happy. I go home just kind of floating on a cloud. Art is something that I was always interested in and never had an opportunity to do. I'm just so jealous that these kids have an art room, and they have Trevor, and they have each other. Everything that I see in the art room is so exciting. And again, it continues to evolve. I've never come in that they haven't started some other new thing that's wonderful and exciting. And I just walk out glowing, thinking, this is great.
The whole notion of youth leadership and youth governance has really reached its quintessence in the way Neutral Zone has evolved.
Me and a bunch of other people who had been involved with the Gay Straight Alliances were kind of invited by Chris Wiltsey to come and start some programming at the Neutral Zone, which was really amazing because a bunch of us were pretty frustrated with trying to work with adults whose support we really needed to do LGBTQ youth organizing, but who weren't very supportive of us, of the things that we really wanted to do. So at the Neutral Zone, under Chris's invitation, we were really able to start this program that was completely youth-driven and youth-oriented. That was an activist group for queer youth.
We're talking the year 2002. That's almost 10 years ago. And really, like, a lot of attitudes toward same-sex coupling and gender issues were still way under the surface compared to they are now. And Saylor, that's what Lewis was calling himself at the time, Saylor, really brought those issues to the fore with incredible courage.
I started a program called North Star at the Neutral Zone when I was a little bit older, when I was 18 or 19, and it's a program that Heidi Arizala started at Algonquin, at Camp Algonquin in northern Michigan. That was one of the most important things I feel like I did when I was younger, was starting North Star at the Neutral Zone, because it's still in existence today, and it was a really powerful experience for all of us who were involved at the time. I started a program called Raw Talent in Richmond, California, and I started a spoken word program similar to Volume, pretty much just follow Jeff Cass's footsteps to a T, and therefore it has been really successful, and it's evolving into a community-wide program now.
These kinds of things, it's stunning to me, and it's amazing it happens year after year. What kids learn here is how to be leaders, how to be people who can teach other people how to grow. And just watching them do that and watching them become successful it's inspiring. And it makes me want to keep coming back here and work here until I can't work anymore, because I just know that it's always going to be more kids passing it on and growing into the next generation of leaders.
It's phenomenal. I can't tell you one experience that means the most to me, because I wouldn't be doing the Neutral Zone justice. I think that the Neutral Zone saved my life, and I hate to sound cliche, but it did. It really did, in terms of providing me with the stability and the food, even food. Like, going home and starving was the norm before I found the Neutral Zone. I mean, it's like one of those things where I can't put my finger on the one thing that makes the Neutral Zone impactful in my life. I mean, I'm the first generation college student. I graduated from the University of Michigan, and I would have never applied had I not been pushed. I could have been that statistic, and the fact that the Neutral Zone believed in me and gave me that strength and that courage and that hope, I mean, it's just, I can't tell you one thing, because there's so many things that the Neutral Zone has done for me.
What would have happened if I said how I really felt? What would have happened if I had found some real help? But when it's over, no one seems to care. And when it's over, we just have wasted time. And when